Hey guys and gals, it's me, LJ. I'm back on after kind of a crazy week in my life, which is part of where this video is coming from. And I'm coming to you from some city streets of Long Beach. So please pardon the sounds, trucks and cars. I'm going to try to go to a quieter street. But yeah, I was thinking about, well, I just posted a thought that I made into a little meme about how our attention is energy. And then finding myself thinking about how, well, of course, yeah, and if you're here in this group, it's because somehow I know you're interested in yoga, or you like to practice it, or you want to learn more about it, or something along those lines. So I feel even more invited to talk to you along those lines, and to help you see, as I keep seeing, how something like attention is one of the hugest parts of yoga. Really, one of the biggest things we're playing with, looking at, honing, shifting, changing, choosing, becoming aware of the power of our attention, right? And so that means, yeah, even during that mat practice, which is the part of yoga that most of us think of when we think of yoga, it is one of the parts of the practices, right? But it's a place to play with our attention, right? And to look at what we are attending to and how we are attending to the moment, how our attention is in our bodies or not, how our attention is in our minds, what's happening in imagination, getting more powerful with how we use all that, getting really magical at how we use all that, or realizing that we are magical when we are using all of that, right? So, but then, yeah, when we get into the deeper stuff, like, well, how does yoga, help me deal with life? Well, and that's really what I'm realizing is my yoga practices now, the things that I've realized work for me, that I use each day, however things are going, holy crap, they get me through life when I need it, right? So, it's huge. Sorry, I just passed some people. I'm like, what the hell is that woman doing with that phone? Yes, I'm going live on Facebook. But yeah, so then we can see, though, because part of what helps us get through life is where we're putting our attention, right? And how we're using our attention. Because when we get down to things like whole, say, fear versus love question, right? Which is what so many of the traditions and philosophies and religions really get down to, that we can keep going back to, are we looking at this with fear or love? Are we being in the energy of fear or love? Are we being in presence of fear or love? Are we responding with fear or love, right? Are we imagining with fear or love? That we can start to see that our attention is what we're talking about. Are we paying attention from fear or from love, right? Are we paying attention to the things we fear or the things we love? And then that's where we realize, holy shit, our attention is so powerful, and it is energy, and it is increasing things, right? And magnifying things. So that's where it's like, holy shit, we really want to get clear with how we're using our attention, our focus, right? Because it's super powerful. It is magic. It is energy. So that's a big part of what we get to do with our yoga life and lifestyle and practices and the perspectives and the psychology that are all part of the yoga, right? And remember, I always love to get to this video that yoga means union, or to join or to connect. So is our attention in a place that's more about connection? Are we even paying attention to the fact or the feeling of being connected, right? If we do feel like there is a God and he or she's looking out for us, are we paying attention to that right now, right? For instance, or maybe we could say there's multiple parts of ourselves we could be paying attention to. Are we listening to our heart or our head, right? Are we listening to our ego or our spirit? Are we listening to our heart, our soul, our most aligned self? Right? So that's where we can see all of our practices can be about that, the reconnection, creating that for ourselves in various ways. So yes, that may happen on the mat, but it also may very well likely happen on things like a walk, or in a journal, or when we're creating something, or when we're doing all sorts of things that we can make a practice of yoga, right? But then what's cool I've noticed is the stronger I get in maybe the discipline of my practices, just knowing to use them, then when I'm really going through shit, I've got my ways that I can like help myself through it even more. You know, like I'm in the practice of going to my journal, and then going to my journal really helps me. And I may even go to my journal more when I'm going through something. But because I'm in the practice of it, it's there, I'm using it, it helps me, and I'm ready to use it, right? So all right, so if you can help, or if you can see with me, I'm loving these fall leaves on the ground here, that our yoga is so much about our attention, right? And then like where our attention is what makes or breaks freaking our response to life, right? And that's where we start to see that this yoga stuff is getting us into like superpowers that we have. And even if you look at like the classic yogi texts, they're talking about that eventually, as we hone things like our attention and our use of it and our play with it in all these ways, get more intentional, mindful, magical with all of it, that yeah, we are becoming like superheroes in these bodies and really using our powers. Maybe it's because, if you want to see it like it, because we are connected to God and we might as well start acting like it, right? Or we are a child of God, or we are God ourselves, right? Then it's like, holy shit, what kind of power am I in from there? And a lot of it is, though, this simple stuff that's even a lot about the psychology, right? So not so much about how good your downward dog looks, but it's more about where's your attention when you're in that downward dog. And yeah, some of the ideas like bringing our attention more into right now, right? Being able to quiet our minds is some of what we get to practice. Some of getting to listen more to the parts of us that we want to listen to, right? Being able to even redirect our mind and attention and our focus, and realizing that we're creating so much with that. So if we're seeing that we're really imagining what we don't want, having ways that we can like redirect that and shift that, right? Paying attention to how we're holding our bodies too, because that's such a part of the energy of it all. And so when we're walking around all uptight and holding on to energy and stored trauma, that we're transmitting a lot differently and creating a lot differently and allowing the energy and the flow a lot differently. So yeah, using the practices to keep freeing up the stuck energy and letting stuff go and letting go of stored trauma, even the trauma of yesterday, right? Much less the trauma of 20 years ago. So it's freaking powerful stuff, and I'm just more and more excited about how much it's helping me through life, basically, right? Whatever was the reason that we thought we got into yoga, we start to see it's a way that we can like take care of ourselves through life. And that's where, as I love to remind, it's anything that is yoga for you, you know. And for me, it's a blend of time on the mat, various forms of meditation. My journal's a huge part of my yoga. Walking, nature, music, dancing's become one of my most powerful tools. Really used that a lot this last week while going through some hard stuff. Music, sound, breath, of course, is a huge one. Right? Laughing, crying, all sorts of things, but just remembering it's about the connection, right? That we're creating, the reconnecting we get to do in various ways, and that attention is at the root of it all. And it's something that we can always be growing and strengthening our use of, right? So that it can help us feel more connected, right? And more powerful. So I love you guys, and thanks for listening. Talk soon. Adios.